This video is sponsored by Crimson Manifesto, Knuckles OX, Zach Haji, Jopi, and Baba Snake. We pick up many years into the past, returning to a few minutes after Turles had consumed the strange red fruit on planet Dessert. It had quite literally been a lifesaver, as it had allowed him to keep holding on long enough to rest and receive a Zenkai. And what a Zenkai it had been, as when he pulls himself from his unconsciousness, he feels stronger than he ever has before, maybe even stronger than his dad, a fact he is unknowingly able to confirm by effortlessly defeating the beasts of this world when they come for him, allowing the young Saiyan to have his first proper meal in forever. However, this only solves one of his problems, as he is still trapped on this mud ball with no way off. At least, that is what he thinks until a pair of purple gremlins descend from a nearby ridge, matching smirks on their faces, as they come that it looks like the brat ate the fruit. Good, he will make a much more suitable specimen than one of these beasts. Still concussed and confused, Turles attempts to ask who these guys are, or what they mean. Though before he can complete his slurred sentence, he is caught in an electrified net, courtesy of one of the purple aliens, as he drifts off once more, awakening what he recognizes as a spaceship's cargo hold. Turles is next met by the mincing voices of his captors, as they inform him that what he ate is a fruit from the fabled Tree of Might, the only one that worthless world ever produced. So as the only recipient of his power increase, they're going to have him run some tests for them. If he's a good little specimen, they'll drop him off somewhere nice when they're done. If he's not, well, vivisection should still provide them some useful data. While this thread might have worked on another being, Turles is not like other beings, feeling far too eager to run some more tests of his own with his new strength, and using that keen mind for battle he shares with his brother to conclude that these two guys can't be very strong, not if they have to rely on number and synchronicity, cheap tricks, and technology to capture him. As a result, Turles' response is a key blast to the door, blowing it wide open, and seeing a group of aliens wielding blasters rush in, evidently intent on preventing his escape. However, as they will soon learn, he is not trapped in here with them, they are trapped in here with him, as powering up a sudden storm in his palm, he unleashes a beam barrage, with each one punching cleanly through their target and killing them instantly. When the smoke settles, Turles strolls casually into the body of the ship, and while he is met with more opposition, he ends them just as mercilessly, until finally he arrives on the bridge, where his original captors stand petrified. Having seen what Turles so effortlessly did to their hired muscle, the closer the pair drops to his knees, begging for his and his brother's life, though here, Turles simply responds with a twisted smile, assuring the pair that he has no intentions of killing them, not when he can use them to grow him more of those fruits, until he can be as strong as Frieza himself. Letting out matching wails of relief, the two purple aliens then crawl up to grovel at his feet, vowing to serve him loyally, with the one who did not speak before asking what they should call their new master. For a moment, Turles pauses, as there is one name he had always dreamed of, only now does he feel worthy of it, as he informs his two new underlings to call him the mighty Turles. And so begins the fledgling days of the Turles Crusher Corps, with Turles, along with Racine and Lacase, establishing themselves as mercenaries, both to scout out new worlds capable of sustaining a Tree of Might, as well as for acquiring the funds to sustain themselves during this hunt, as Turles has no desire to return to the Frieza Force, or even Planet Vegeta at the moment, just so he can be placed under someone's boot. This often means taking the dirtiest and most unsavory jobs on offer, from figures who make Frieza look like a goody two-shoes galactic patrolman, though Turles doesn't really care, as with each job, he grows stronger, and each world he gets to rob its life force, he grows exponentially so, to the point that before long his life has become a cycle of violence to produce money, money to produce the fruit to produce power, and power to produce more violence. And so it is that a young Turles grows up on the battlefield, maturing into a man, while soaking his soul in greed, hatred, and blood. Though he does not do so alone, as on top of Racine and Lacase, he finds himself recruiting new comrades to his aptly named Crusher Corps, with their propensity to crush all who stand between them and their goals. The first of these allies is met strangely enough as a rival, when Turles, along with several other mercs, are called to carry out a manhunt for a dangerous criminal, with the understanding that this is a race, and there can only be one winner. Refusing to give up this paycheck, Turles and his gang are the first off the mark, making note to sabotage the competition's ships before they go. However, this does not stop the cyborg bounty hunter Cacao, who thanks to his mechanical abilities, is able to repair his ship before too long, and even catch up to Turles' head start, something the Saiyan can respect, as it requires ingenuity, tenacity, and a certain fearlessness. Though this is not to say that Turles or Cacao have any intentions of partnering up at that point, with the cyborg instead trying to get his own back against the young Saiyan by taking out his engines with a few well-placed lasers. Thankfully, Racine and Lacase are not just here as extra bodies, having proven their worth by tuning up and overcharging the ship's specs, including its shields. Seeing Cacao thoroughly thwarted, but further impressed, as if the Crusher Corps could do that with a ship, what could they do with his cybernetic implants, and the payday from this gig? To this end, the bounty hunter hails Turles with a proposition, offering him a way to smoke out their target, and ensure he does not get away in exchange for a 50-50 split of the reward. And so it is that a short time later, Cacao's ship appears in orbit above the world their target had made his hideout, with it not taking long for the security systems to pick up with its arrival. Figuring this to be another bounty hunter, the mark makes his way into the atmosphere atmosphere, obliterating the ship like all the rest. Though this is just what the crew had wanted, as in his moment of triumph, the target does not notice another ship moving through the cover of the debris, not until it passes into the atmosphere, allowing Turles and Cacao to emerge and take their target down in a 2v1 fight that soon sees him cuffed, trussed, and ready to be delivered. Recognizing how well they fought together, not to mention the fact that he had to sacrifice his ship for the ambush, Cacao then proposed that he continue on with the same mercenary for a while, an offer the black-haired man does not refuse. Though as time goes on, Cacao makes no indication of his originally suggested departure, instead growing more involved in the workings of the crew, so that before long, though no one has to say it, he has put aside his lone wolf ways and truly become a member of the Crusher Corps. The second ally Turles makes in his travels, and perhaps his most fervent supporter, comes when working the opposite side of the law, as the Crusher Corps has been hired by a crime boss to bust his son of the Galactic Patrol prison on Planet Nuts. Feeling confident that he can handle anything the patrol throws at him, considering how many fruits he's eaten by this point, Turles does not hesitate to agree, charging headlong into the prison and using the hole he blew in the wall to initiate a prison break. This forces the guards to split their attention, making them easy prey for the Sane and his henchmen as they comb the crowd for their client's son. Unluckily for them, the mouthy little shit had gotten himself strangled by his cellmate mere hours earlier, making this whole operation a bust. Though this is perhaps a blessing in disguise, as his killer, a burly alien named Amond, has decided to stay and get some payback on his captors, a sentiment Turles can quite understand, even working with the brute to clear away every able-bodied fighter, be they prisoner or patroller. From this initial meeting, it is plain to see that Turles and Amond are kindred spirits, ruthless, vengeful spirits, but still kindred in their own way, with Turles even offering him a ride off-world, or even a place by his side, if he's looking to turn that raw strength of his into cold hard cash. Eagerly agreeing, Amond has no trouble slotting himself into the Crusher Corps, with him in turn witnessing as Turles plants a tree of might seed, harvesting this conquered world, and sharing in the very literal fruits of their labor, with him promptly swearing eternal fealty to the mighty Turles, if he can continue giving him power boosts like that. Liking the sound of that, Turles formally inducts Amond into his crew, with the long-haired man witnessing as Turles presents the body of the dead target to his father, although while reasoning that they still completed the job to the fullest circumstances would allow, meaning it's in everyone's best interest that they should be paid what they were promised. In a state of grief, and disgusted by this bare-faced avarice, the crime boss promptly refuses, telling the mercenaries to leave at once, though this is a terrible tactical error, as Turles is a man who will get his money's worth, one way or the other. In this case, he chooses to do so by planting another tree of might here, and revealing as the world is sucked dry while producing enough fruit for him and his crew to each receive a further jump in power so soon after the next, with there even being enough surplus to stock a few away for a rainy day. However, being a shrewd businessman, he does not stop there, having Cacao emulate his trick from their first meeting and decimate the crime boss's private fleet, marooning him on a dying and barren world, just as he once was. Only this time, the Sane is here to offer an escape, albeit at triple the price they had originally negotiated. Not long after this, a job comes up to help in aiding a monarchy quell a civil war, which leads to the final member of the Crusher Corps joining up, in the form of a prince of the Pukenpa dynasty of Planet Kabocha, whom greatly respects the cunning Turles displays playing both sides of the war, for the sake of the greatest profit possible, as well as the raw power to quell the fighting instantly, by simply revealing his true power in the Uzaru state, and giving Kabocha's residents the ultimatum to evacuate or die underfoot, so that the planet may also become fodder for the fruit. In short, the life of a brigand suits Turles just fine, if not being a true calling form that he clearly has aptitude for, even better than that of his father or brothers, with this quickly beginning to motivate him, as it is a way to make the family he perceives as already dead proud from the depths of hell, though it is not without cost, as the attack on the Nuts prison and ending of the war on Kabocha is enough to finally earn him and his comrades quite sizable bounties of their own, issued by the Galactic Patrol. This immediately puts them on the radar of several factions, whom they had managed to avoid the notice of up until this point, chief among them being the Heeters, who due to their semi-legal operation have ties to the patrol, just as they do to the Frieza Force. While Alek is not interested in a ragtag gang of ne'er-do-wells, Gas is another story, as their leader looked shockingly familiar to that Saiyan, the one he fought briefly on Planet Cereal, and who cowardly got away from him, greatly wounding his pride. As Saiyans are such rarities following the destruction of their homeworld, Alek is willing to indulge his brother in chasing down this bounty, especially since when he finally manages to kill him, they can turn his body over to the patrol for a tidy profit. To this end, he uses his vast network of contacts to track this Turles character to Planet Zoom, where he and his crew are whiling the time away between jobs at a bar, having already deemed this place unsuitable to produce a tree. Possessing the subtlety of a brick, Gas does not attempt to hide his approach, standing in the middle of a main street and screaming for the Saiyan to fight him to the death this time, a claim Turles pays little heed to, as he does to the diminutive alien himself, having already killed 2 wannabe bounty hunters today. From his right side, Amond volunteers to deal with this loud punk for the mighty Turles, earning him a nod as the big brute steps outside and powers up. However, what should have been a sweep in Amond's favor instead becomes an act of brutalization as Gas does not hold back in the slightest, beating the Crusher Corps' second in command into the dusky dirt before screaming once again for the Saiyan. Seeing this is a mess he will have to clean up on his own, Turles puts down his drink and saunters outside bemusically, calling him persistent and demanding to know if this is all over some stupid bounty. Unfortunately, he does not receive much of an answer, as Gas simply replies that he wants what he's owed from Planet Cereal, a claim that means nothing to Turles, as he's never even heard of the place. Nonetheless, if this brat is after his head like all the rest, then he'll just take his off instead, rocketing forward and swinging what is meant to be a decapitating punch. Though like Amond, he receives a surprise, as Gas is strong and fast enough to block before returning a gut shot that actually wins him a bit. It has been a long time since Turles fought someone who could actually stand on even footing with him, with this making his Saiyan blood crowd in exultation. As while he enjoys his nigh untouchable status, he has missed this, and so will be sure to savor every bit of it. Somersaulting backwards, he next attempts to kill Driver, forming the ring of ki between his hands and thrusting it outwards. Though here too, Gas shows himself to be impressive, leaping into the air and just managing to squeeze through the attack's hollow center by virtue of his small stature, before continuing his flight at full speed and headbutting Turles in the chest, with the intention of punching a hole straight through him. Grunting a little, as this actually hurt, Turles decides to prove why he is known as mighty, using their close range to deliver an uppercutting dropkick, which sends Gas flying in a wide parabola before crashing to the dirt 20 feet away, all the while a faint blood spray marks his trail. However, the Saiyan is not done here, flying over before his opponent hits the ground and landing a knee drop into Gas's ribs, severely cracking them as he begins to lay into the blue alien's face with a series of brutal ki-infused punches. However, showing he is just as much of a killing machine, Gas savagely spits a glob of his own blood in Turles' eyes, temporarily blinding him and allowing the young Heeter to materialize a small dagger of ki, which he jams into the Saiyan's kidneys, using this as a critical hit to shove him aside, returning the fight to a neutral state of equilibrium, as by now, Turles has managed to wipe his eyes, meaning both fighters are ready to begin round 2. However, before they can, a supercilious voice rings out, chiding Gas that he's still far too hasty for his own good, as in his burning desire for a rematch, he failed to notice a key detail of Mr. Turles, that being his distinct lack of a scar on his jaw. Looking up at the voice, the pair combatants see Alec, watching from a nearby rooftop, as he calmly but firmly orders Gas to stand down before turning his attention to Turles, and smirking that he's been reviewing the Saiyan's handiwork. And he must say, a merc like him doesn't come around every parsec. He's truly a generational talent. Knowing the type of man he's dealing with, Turles bluntly asks if this was some sort of test before hiring him for a job, to which Alec enigmatically replies it was something like that. Though he does not want to hire Turles for a singular job, he instead wishes to add him to his growing list of contacts, as after all, he makes his living connecting powerful people who need tasks achieved with the sort of people who can do so for a large sum of cash. He's also quite sure Turles might be able to help Gas with his search for his real target, and as a good big brother, he's willing to do all he can to ensure that happens. This statement somewhat weirdly rubbing Turles the wrong way. Getting the gist as he looks between the older Heeter's smirk and the younger's maintained resentful glare, Turles states that Alec wants him on a retainer before turning his back on their alien, and saying he'll pass, as he's been a cog in the machine of self-proclaimed great men before, with pretty crappy results, and he has no interest in going back to that after being free for so long. However, this just earns him a titter, as Alec states that Mr. Turles quite misunderstands. He's not looking for an employee, despite having lost some promising prospects. He has plenty of those already. He's looking for a partner who will work directly with him, handling their most critical, delicate, and profitable matters. Still with his back to the Heeter, Turles grunts as if bidding him to go on, with Alec getting to the point, and reiterating that he's been looking over Turles' history. All the planets he's visited, conquered, or even on rare occasions freed, as well as how quickly and mysteriously those planets were destroyed soon afterwards. His intelligence network is so great that he even knows what the man is looking for are worlds to host his tree of might, and not only that, ones that produce incredibly high quality fruits, also known as the ones that Lord Frieza claims a monopoly on in his real estate business, and because of his connections, he can provide those in spades, while also helping to keep the Crusher Corps under the radar of the Patrol and Frieza. So what does the mighty Turles say to that? For a moment, the Saiyan pauses, weighing its options. Then as his cunning outweighs his defiance, he turns back with a smirk, replying that Alec's got himself a deal. But that's where we'll be leaving this story off for right now. That's 2.5 and I hope you enjoyed. To keep things short, this one was actually meant to be bundled in with the 8.5 slice of life content, but I ended up deciding against that with some help in writing from Pickle Dill, as it just wouldn't have really matched up with the timeline that much to have stuff going on in the present and then jumping all the way back in the past. This one's also going to be pretty short and not all that heavily edited, not just because I wanted it out fast, but also because there's not a ton of action, more so just setting up for future plot. And there's also stuff like power levels and the Fruit of Might buff that I don't really want to argue with you guys over the numbers over just yet. We can do that a little bit later when it's actually more relevant. Oh, and please feel pity for me and subscribe and like, because I bit the hell out of my cheek while recording this. And our supporter shoutouts of the video go to Stefan Dames, Tailed God, Schuler Patterson, Demon Set, Normandy 1998, Simra, Vegeta What Ifs, Namolo's Phantom, and Alamancer. Thanks so much for watching. Have a nice day. Remember to take care of yourselves and the world around you. Go beyond plus ultra, and I'll see you guys next time.